Carlsbad is a very high fire hazard severity zone. Well, certainly many parts of it are. And what does that mean? That means Zone 0 regulations will apply to the thousands or millions of homeowners in the area. Hey everyone, my name is Chris. I'm here with Zone 0 California, and I want to remind you, we are giving away a free pedestrian gate. Now to enter to win, all you need to do is two things: subscribe, and then go to zone0california.com and fill out the form to download your free Zone 0 PDF checklist guide. All right, now this gate is going to be an all-steel construction, designed and made in Australia, and built to withstand the intense heat of wildfires, which is why it is exactly the kind of gate that is perfect for you if you own a home in the area in a fire hazard severity zone and need to become Zone 0 compliant. So what is Zone 0? Zone 0 is the 0 to 5 feet around any home or property or structure, really. And it is the defensible space within 0 to 5 feet when it comes to fire mitigation, preventing damage from spread of wildfires. Now, as we know, wildfires do their most damage not by spreading through flame or radiant heat, but by embers that get picked up and blown sometimes for miles and land on properties unprepared to handle such a fire event. So what happens is these embers land on combustible material on properties that aren't prepared for them, and they can ignite, and combined with high winds, create a new fire that's very destructive very fast. So that's what Zone 0 aims to tackle. So if you're in a very high fire hazard severity zone, like parts of Carlsbad, now I'm here off El Camino Real and La Costa Ave, and I come to these locations to take you, the viewer, sort of like on the ground to show you exactly where these fire hazard zones begin. And if you notice to my left here, towards the west, we start to see another hill over there. San Diego's got a lot of hills, I noticed. Coming from Los Angeles, we have a lot of flat ground and then one big mountain range. Over here, you've got lots of communities spread out through different mountains and valleys, which is very nice. But these hills and mountains coincide with high wind areas and the fire hazard severity zones. So we'll take a look at the map, and I'll drive around like I always do to show you guys exactly where these fire hazard severity zones begin and what kind of homes and communities are in those areas. So if you do have a home or property in a fire hazard severity zone and you are subject to Zone 0 regulations, what does that entail? All right, it's going to comprise a number of things, mainly your landscaping, your fences and your gates, and your decks and your patios. And then if you combine siding and roofing with that whole system combined together is what's known as a fire hardening system. So if you're doing your best to change out your building materials on all 6 of those areas, you have a more complete or robust fire hardening system, all right? So let's talk about landscaping, because landscaping involves trees, and trees provide natural sources of shade, and that shade, according to some studies, can lower the temperature effectively by as much as 50 degrees. So if Zone 0 regulations dictate that you're gonna have to remove a tree within 5 feet of your home, that's going to add a number of problems. I mean, not only is that a heavy financial burden and a big undertaking to remove a tree, but now you're going to be burdened with higher energy costs to cool your home. Now, we know that these trees particularly have been a source of contention during this regulatory process. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, once we finally get, final draft regulations from the state and from the counties, that there's particular carve-outs at the county or city level in places like San Diego and its surrounding communities, or Los Angeles, when it comes to this tree issue, because quite frankly, I don't think places, especially maybe not so much, maybe more like towards San Diego, the city, but like, Los Angeles, which has no natural source of shade in the more flat areas, getting rid of a tree is gonna be a big deal. So, but who cares about LA? We're in San Diego, right? Nevertheless, San Diego, we do expect, will also have some particular county and city level guidelines when it comes to this stuff here. And we are waiting, because it's March of 2026. We were supposed to get final word, I believe, at the end of 2025, but that got delayed till March, and now it seems it's going to be delayed again. But the insurance companies haven't really waited on the state to take action. They've been the de facto enforcement mechanism thus far. So your insurance company might make you remove a tree or change out your grass for gravel or do any number of things that essentially applies to your zone 0 measures. So we're giving away a gate because obviously, naturally, an old wood fence or gate is going to be within that 0 to 5 feet, especially if it goes right up next to your home or your garage. So that's the reason why we're giving it away. Because as I've driven throughout Los Angeles and now San Diego, besides the trees and the landscaping, for sure, there are so many homes that have old redwood fences and gates. And those go within 5 feet of the structure. Those are going to need to be replaced. Now, not all wood is created equal. There are some woods approved for use by CAL FIRE. Like what, you might ask? Like Kayu Batu, a hardwood. Now, hardwoods are most commonly used, besides for fences and gates, in decking, which brings us to our next point of contention. Now, if you have a redwood deck, you may need to replace that with an approved material like a hardwood, or we know there are also other composite materials made by companies like Trex or TimberTech that are also Class A non-combustible. Now, when it comes to the framing of your deck, we have to see what the regulations say, because you may need to replace that wood framing with something like steel or with a different type of wood. So we'll have to see. It's a very case-by-case basis, area by area. But these are some of the things we want you to be aware of now. We want you prepared and not scared. And we want to raise awareness about the issue because this is going to affect literally millions of people very soon. So we're putting out that information now. If you have a patio with a wood railing and that wood railing is made of redwood, that's probably going to need to be replaced as well. Steel, aluminum, stainless steel cable railings, those are all alternatives in addition to any kind of approved wood. So I'm going to leave it there. Usually I mention siding and roofing, but those may not be zone 0 specific. However, if you do have wood siding because your home was built in a certain period or a certain architectural style, you may need to prepare yourself for changing out your siding, which is a much bigger undertaking. Let's hop in the truck. Let's look at the map. Let's see where we're at. Let's outline the fire hazard severity zone in this area in particular, and then let's take a drive around one of the nearby communities in the fire hazard severity zone to see what kind of building materials they've got in use, which will be zone 0 areas of concern. So once again, my name's Chris. If you want to win the gate, subscribe to the channel, go to zone0california.com, fill out the form, download your free PDF checklist guide, and of course, if you want to be put in touch with licensed contractors in your area, just give me a ring at zone0california.com. All right, enough talking. Let's get in the truck. Let's take a drive. Hey, it's Chris. All right, we're back in the truck. Let me open my phone here and show you the fire hazard severity zone map, where we are at and where this part of Carlsbad is affected. Okay, so here you go. This is where I am, El Camino and La Costa Ave. All right, so I'm at this intersection. So you can see all of this in here is on the very edge, right, of this larger fire hazard severity zone. I guess it, if we go west, we enter Encinitas, but Carlsbad is to the north. So, listen, if you live along El Camino Real, there's a good chance you're gonna be close or inside of a fire hazard severity zone. So, we're gonna go up to the north because this video is for Carlsbad. We'll give Encinitas their own video later. So we're gonna take El Camino north, and we're gonna, once we hit what is this, Aviara Parkway, that again is like a good landmark or line of demarcation to show you, hey, we're entering now. So anything north of Aviara Parkway along El Camino Real becomes a very high fire hazard severity zone. And you can tell by the shape of these that these follow probably, again, the topography of the mountains. So this whole area right here is kind of a flat land. All of this in white is safe. But as we go north in Carlsbad here along El Camino Real, we begin to enter another very high fire hazard severity zone there. So since this is a Carlsbad video, we're gonna go north, all right? All right, so about to turn here onto El Camino Real, headed north. And sure enough, see how this flat land valley between the two mountains here, this was all that area in white. This is, you know, you got a golf course over here. This is all flat land. That's the Omni Resort here. This is all essentially in a safe zone, most likely because it's in low-lying areas topographically. It's not in the hills or the mountains, but as we traverse north of El Camino Real here, we are going to start ascending higher in elevation, which eventually will lead us to the fire hazard severity zone, which kind of begins around Aviara Parkway. So yeah, and you can start to see a community here to the left. So wait, is this already? No, we're not there yet. We've got a ways to go, but look, here's a fire station, so that's cool. But yeah, we're already like going uphill, so we're already starting to ascend higher geographically, topographically. So, and yeah, there's big communities to my left and my right now, and an old wood fence along El Camino Real here. So let's see, I know I got the phone in my hand. I mean, I'm sorry, I got the camera in my hand, so I don't want to look at the phone and juggle three things. But I believe this is we're at Aviara Parkway now. Let me see here till we get up to the, yeah, so here, Aviara Parkway. Okay, and look, we've got commercial development, right? There's a shopping center here. There's banks, there's restaurants, there's grocery stores. So I'm gonna turn left, and then I turn left here. As I said before, that's when we start entering the fire hazard severity zone. So just to show you on the map, since I'm at a red light, this is the intersection I'm at right now, and as soon as I turn left and drive west down Aviara Parkway, we begin to enter the fire hazard severity zone. So essentially everything to the east on my right is okay, but over my shoulder here to the west, this begins the danger area. Now, of course, if you go, let me zoom out, if you go north enough, everything to the east and the west here obviously now enters the zone. So, but this is where we're at. This is where we're going to drive around. And we're going to see what kind of construction this community has. So I'm going to make a left here, and then I'm going to turn right. Oh, there's an elementary school. What street is this? I'm looking for Ambrosia Lane. So we're going to make a right on Ambrosia Lane. We'll be definitely in the thick of the red zone there, and then we'll just kind of check out some houses in that area and see what they're like as far as the construction, the building materials, the landscaping, etc., with a eye for potential zone 0 areas of concern. But again, like, once this is all basically, now we're in the red zone here, and you have commercial buildings, you got a post office. Look at the landscaping here. You know what? Let me turn into this community right here. I'm going to make this first right. Pavo Real. Excuse me. Pavo Real. Okay. And we'll see what kind of construction they got here. Oh, I can already see it. Look, first house, wood fence and gate. Again, wood fence and gate. I bet for the most part, all the homes in this community have wood fences and gates. It's not their fault. It's just when these houses were all developed, they all just have the same design, wood fence and gate. Let me check the other side of the street here. I don't see anything down there. Back there, they've got vinyl, so they've upgraded. How about this next house? They've got vinyl too. Now, I am not sure if vinyl will pass the non-combustible test. Maybe certain types of vinyl, if they're built to be that way, but from what I understand, vinyl is not. Okay, there you go, wood fence and gate between those two. And of course the trees, right? The trees, look, you've got all these trees above the homes, over the roof, and a big redwood fence and gate along the middle of those homes. So, you know, I don't need to belabor the point anymore. I could drive around all day and point them all out, but you guys get the idea. A number of homes in this area, in this community, in this very high fire hazard severity zone are going to need to replace their landscaping, their redwood fences and gates, their decks, their patios, if they're made of wood, very soon. Once these regulations kick in, what I expect is going to happen by 2027, these changes are going to be like front and center. So be prepared. Don't be scared. Give me a call. Go to zonezerocalifornia.com. Get in touch with me. I'll connect you with local contractors, licensed contractors who can do the work for you. All right? Thanks, and stay safe.